p.m. on Sunday, October 11th, 2020. We're coming back on with continuing severe weather coverage from the Carolina Weather Group, where the National Weather Service is confirming a tornado is on the ground right now in Brunswick and Columbus counties in North Carolina, along the North Carolina coast, just outside of Wilmington. Again, the tornado warning with an observed confirmed tornado on the ground located near Old Dock, or about 14 miles southeast of Whiteville, moving northeast at 25 miles an hour. You can see some of the locations that this will be near there on your screen in the next few minutes. We're looking at radar right now. Just down the street, National Weather Service radar operated by the Wilmington office of the Weather Service. You can see this area of circulation right on in here where the green and the red come together. This is where that confirmed tornado was or is on the ground. It's hard to know since we got the report from the Weather Service in the last few minutes. These things are very touch and go today. They're popping up and moving very quickly. So the atmosphere today is not conducive for long-form tornadoes, but very quick spin-ups. And so at one point, confirmed to be on the ground, could possibly still be on the ground in Brunswick and Columbus counties. We're looking at radar replay here now, and you can see where that area of circulation came right on over the border and eventually meets up where the polygon has been issued after observation of this tornado on the ground along the North Carolina coast. Just outside of Wilmington. This is Brunswick and Columbus counties. Left-hand side of your screen, rain showing up there on Reflectivity Radar. And that's what we most typically look at. And on the right-hand side of your screen, one of the tools we use a lot during tracking of severe weather, the reflectivity shows the winds, and that's where we see the rotation. The winds and the moving away and towards the radar in very close proximity to each other, or is where the green and the red come together. So again, an observed tornado in what is now Columbus County. 6:01 update from the National Weather Service tells us that they have dropped Brunswick from this warning. We'll see the polygon on the right-hand side of your screen update momentarily. But again, this goes until 6:15. If you are in Columbus County, North Carolina, you are under a tornado warning with a tornado that was observed to be on the ground. You should be seeking shelter immediately in your safe place. That's in a sturdy building away from windows and doors, lowest level. You want to have as many walls between you and the outside of the world as possible. This goes until 6:15 now for central Columbus County, where a confirmed tornado was observed on the ground near Old Dock, or 14 miles southeast of Whiteville, moving northeast at 25 miles an hour. Tornado warning that was up last hour for Chester and York counties in South Carolina has been allowed to expire. That is certainly some good news. The National Weather Service out of Wilmington is going to have a very busy day tomorrow doing storm surveys, I suspect. That we already know they're going to be going to Dillon County to observe tornado damage there from earlier this afternoon. And we also are now getting reports from a different tornado warning that was up earlier today in Horry County near Red Hill. Around 4:30, social media showing there possible tornado damage. A fence is blown down in the Bridgewater community off Highway 90. Trees also reported down in the road in the Red Hill area. Again, that was about 4:30 in Horry County. In Dillon County at 3:20, we saw video of snapped trees along Interstate 95, where the tornado believed to have crossed Interstate 95 between Lotta and Dillon near mile marker 184. And we got reports of those tree snaps as well as bark torn off of trees and some roof damage to some structures in the area. And now we have a observed tornado on the ground in Columbus County, North Carolina until 6:15. This was now located near Nakia, or 13 miles south of Whiteville, moving northeast at 20 miles an hour. I believe our radar system here has updated. You can see it's all right on in here where this tornado is believed to be. We are very, very close to the actual radar site, some dozen miles or so, which means we're only scanning the atmosphere about 1,000 feet up, which is probably about as ideal as we can get, because any closer than that, we'd have a different problem than we normally have in other parts of the Carolinas, where we end up having issues making observations because the radar is too far away. But in this case right now, we're watching for the next 15 minutes or so an observed tornado. It's probably right in here We have a very bright area of red on the right side of your radar screen and a bright area of green on your radar screen. Seemingly intensifying once again in the last few scans. Rotating with winds, radar estimated to be, it's almost too small for me to observe, at least 40 miles an hour, if not higher. So again, if you are watching us, listening to us, or know someone in the Columbus County area of North Carolina, they're going to want to seek shelter inside a sturdy structure, lowest level of that structure, as interior inside of that structure as they can go. For me at home, that's in a staircase in the middle of the house with as many walls between them and the outside world as possible. I'm going to check in here real fast with our data flow from the National Weather Service. Again, this is in the jurisdiction of the Wilmington office. We're looking at Columbus County, North Carolina. We don't have any other warnings to tell you about right now. The last warning before this was in York and Chester counties, South Carolina, outside the Charlotte metro area. That has been allowed to expire, but there is certainly a line of heavy rain moving towards Rock Hill, Fort Mill, Union County, North Carolina, and Matthews and South Charlotte, where I am here in the next little bit, keeping a close eye on that. We are beginning to lose the sun and the heating of the day, so these storms should have less fuel to work with in order to continue to spin up as they have been. We woke up here in Charlotte to a very wet day, very wet, soggy day, but then that cleared. The clouds cleared, the sun came out, and that allowed the atmosphere to cook on up. So as one line that I woke up to here this morning in Charlotte has now moved and is crossing into the Wilmington area and is continuing to produce isolated spin-ups. We have other storms that were in upstate South Carolina getting going this afternoon, feeding off of the sunshine, and those are now coming into the I-77 corridor. And hopefully, now that the sun is going down out the window behind me, that will begin to kind of cool down, calm down, and the storms will have less to work with. But again, a concerning situation here. This is in the Wilmington metro area, between Wilmington and Myrtle Beach on the North Carolina side of the border, Columbus County. If this were to be extended, you can kind of begin to get an idea. It would probably go something like this. Again, these warnings, just like a hurricane cone, but in a much smaller scale, kind of do widen out as they get further from the possible, or in this case, confirmed tornado. A little bit of margin of error, but also the fact that that tornado could wobble a little bit as it's continuing to move to the north and east at 25 miles an hour. So this warning will go for another 6 minutes, could be extended. We'll see what the Weather Service decides to do. 20 miles an hour is its current speed here to the northeast. Tornado near Old Dock. And we're getting a fresh radar scan in now. I still think we see a little something right on in here that would correspond on both sides of our radar, our reflectivity, and our velocity. We have a marginal risk for severe weather out across the Carolinas today. That's a tier 1 out of 5 from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. We've been on and off web today for a number of different tornado warnings. So you may be returning back as we're continuing to watch this one now. Certainly want to let you know that if you live in this area or know somebody who does, we're giving you the broad strokes here as we're continuing to watch a 2-state area on the Carolina Weather Group, but certainly no offense to us if you want to switch over to local broadcast media here for Columbus County, North Carolina. They can give you kind of the street level, and they know your local communities and emergency officials, and we're always a big fan, and never offended in any ways by the folks who do a really good job there in the broadcast world. So let's go ahead and put this into motion, show you what has transpired here in the last few minutes in Columbus County. And you'll notice just as this kind of comes across the state line here and then continues to move to the north and east, an area of circulation right on up in here in a moment where the green and the red come together. And that's about where this tornado was observed on the ground at some point. And so National Weather Service went ahead and issued that warning. Warnings are sometimes issued based on radar-indicated rotation. We can see things in the clouds in the atmosphere that a human has not yet observed. Sometimes they're still happening above the ground and they're not yet on the ground. In this case, something actually was on the ground and it was observed either by radar technology or a human on the ground. Could be a storm tracker. Could be an emergency official. If this was to become a damaging tornado, it would be at least the third in this area today. Again, around 3:20, Oak Grove, Dillon County, South Carolina area. Public reported tornado crossed I-95 between Lada and Dillon near mile marker 184. Trees snapped there on the sides of the highways. Reports of bark torn off trees and roofs damaged. Short time later, 4:33 in Red Hill community of Horry County, South Carolina. Social media reports possible tornado which fences blown down in the Bridgewater community off Highway 90. Trees also reported down in that area along Red Hill. We are also now getting a report from the National Weather Service in the Conway area of Horry County that it occurred at about 4:20. One injury reported after multiple structures damaged from a possible storm there. Significant damage done to a home on Oak Street between 4 Mile Road and Coulter Road. This is, again, a possible tornado where one person has suffered minor injuries. The National Weather Service is confirming they will be visiting that community as well tomorrow. So multiple storm surveys will be conducted by the National Weather Service out of Wilmington, Horry County, Dillon County, and what I would speculate to be Columbus County, where we have an active tornado warning for another 3 minutes for a tornado that at one point was observed. No indication right now on radar or from the Weather Service on the ground of whether or not this is still on the ground. Widen out for just a moment, let you know that this is the only tornado warning we have in the Carolinas right now. If I switch over to radar from Columbia and then bring you up to the Charlotte area, where the Cup Series NASCAR race has ended at Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, I want to show you that I'm also watching this right on up in here, south of Charlotte, I-77. Fort Mill coming into parts of Lancaster, southern Mecklenburg County. I think this will probably play out here for Matthews and Union County. No warning right now associated with this. It does have a history of producing storms that led to a tornado warning being issued by the National Weather Service. That was in the 5 o'clock hour through McConnell's and Chester, ports of York and Chester County. No immediate reports of damage there, but you can still see we have quite a decent strong area of rain and wind, and even a little weak rotation kind of triangulated here between Fort Mill, Rock Hill, and Newport. But here at 6:13 on this Sunday, October the 11th, we have a tornado warning going for 1 more minute for Columbus County, North Carolina, outside of Wilmington, closer to the coast. Tornado warning located, observed earlier. This initially included parts of Brunswick County. That was allowed to expire. Switch us back over to the radar that's much, much, much closer. It's always nice when we have radar coverage. There are parts of the Carolinas, as you know, from being a frequent viewer of this channel, that we don't always have radar coverage. Kind of up in that Charlotte area, middle part of the state. There is radar coverage. It's weak or less than ideal. Where the beam is so high up in the atmosphere, it's sometimes very, very hard to detect tornadoes. In this case, we are in the neighborhood of that Doppler radar in Wilmington. 6:14, 1 more minute here until the National Weather Service will either have to let this expire or decide to renew it. We'll hang out with you here to see what they decide to do. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. You're watching the Carolina Weather Group. We have new shows coming out every Wednesday where we interview newsmakers from the weather community in the Carolinas, around the region, whatever's of interest to us here in the Carolinas. We produce an interview-style show that is really geared towards everyone, broadcasting from here in the Carolinas. Okay, so confirmation now. National Weather Service has allowed the tornado warning for Columbus County, North Carolina to expire. We'll wait to see here in the next little bit if they get any reports of damage associated with what was at one point an observed tornado on the ground. Our mapping system will remove that polygon momentarily. You can still see a few areas of heavy rain there coming into Wilmington, scattered north just outside of Fayetteville, coming into parts of Raleigh and Greenville, North Carolina. And also keeping a close eye on Rock Hill, South Carolina, south of the Charlotte Metro, coming into my neck of the woods. Switch over to the thermal Doppler radar real fast here. And this produced a tornado warning when it was over parts of Chester and York. Not seeing any tight tornadic couplets of rotation, but boy, is that interesting. Right up on in there, got quite the arc here in this wind field. Tiga K, I wouldn't be surprised if you get some strong winds here in the next few minutes. Lake Wiley to follow. And because of all those kinks and curves, that was what's been leading to our continued concern for possible tornado genesis. And the last few hours of daylight, last few minutes of daylight really now beginning to disappear behind the crust of the earth as the sun sets and what clouds are in the area. So we'll continue to monitor. I'm James Brierton, Charlotte. Thanks for staying with us here for continuing coverage of severe weather across the Carolinas on the Sunday, October the 11th, 2020.